You're listening to Overflow from Riverside Church.
What is going on? Welcome to the Overflow podcast. It's still going, and in my absence,
Come on,
still around.
Good to have you back, though. Come on,
it?
yes. But now we're missing Josh.
Boom!
There it is. There's your answer, folks.
Let's just get something squared away right away. Zero chance Chris Phillips is a Disney adult. Now, circumstance this year.
It just so happened. What happened was.
Points to like I need some explanation.
Yeah.
So we had a conference in June.
We did.
That I did not pay for.
Yep.
Because we were already going down there.
When in Orlando.
And Libby's mom graciously took our kids to Disney 3 days down there.
Yeah.
And then about a year and a half ago, I think it was, Libby's mom was planning a family vacation.
So the question is Miss Meg a Disney adult?
100% a Disney adult. And Libby, my sister-in-law, Disney adult. Big time. Like, I mean, it was matching shirts and everything. Wanted to do an Alaskan cruise. It was a Disney Alaskan cruise because we had 7 kids there and they were entertained the entire time. Now, Libby and I now are Disney Vacation Club member. I'm just kidding, we're not. But we did actually put a deposit down on another Disney cruise. The reason being is because you save 20% if you do a deposit while you're there.
It's just smart.
And you get the money back if you don't go within 2 years. So we already did it. So the verdict is not out.
It's not.
But I respect game recognized game.
I mean, you talk about efficiently run things.
Holy cow.
You know what you're going to get.
Level of excellence.
It's up there.
They shoot for like immersive experiences. Magical, if you will.
Yeah.
I took a picture with 3 characters.
Who are they?
Alaskan Mickey.
What is the difference between
Alaskan Minnie?
Okay.
And Alaskan Goofy.
Were they just wearing?
They wear like Alaskan gear and garb.
Hilarious.
It's like apparently. By the way, it was like we were on the cruise and it was. They like the if you've never been on a Disney cruise, it's wild. It is all Disney all the time. Characters are walking around everywhere, and you have it. And so they let you know where their characters are going to be. Now this happened to be after a show where nobody was around, so it was like late at night, and so we were there. But
they're just walking by themselves.
It's wild, dude. They have like a handler, and they're walking around. They set up in a line and they take pictures.
Man.
And so the reality but when they first come out during the day, there was a 2.5 hour line to see Alaskan Minnie.
Wow.
It was crazy.
That's crazy.
She's in like the full garb. She could have gone and done the Iditarod right then.
Yeah.
And she did not, but she was okay.
Now, I'd rather be a Disney mascot working in Alaska than Orlando.
100%.
Probably a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah. And honestly, like the cruise was well done. Our kids were taken care of the entire time. The thing that was great was for 7 kids, we didn't have to worry about them the entire time we were out there. So the days at sea, they're
on the boat somewhere.
There were so many Disney things going on.
Yeah.
They had like these little areas and stuff. So to definitively answer the question that was thrown out on the podcast.
It was.
I am not a Disney adult.
We have our answer. We have our answer.
The
people were asking.
Game recognized game.
That's it.
I don't mind having a good time.
Yeah.
I'll partake in Disney things, but I will not ever be called a Disney adult.
Fair enough.
Josh Cook, on the other hand.
Josh Cook.
He's an Odyssey
a Greece
nerd.
adult. He is. He's living the Odyssey right
now.
He's
a purist Odyssey geek.
Yeah.
Very offended by the current.
A little bit. He had some hot takes.
Yeah, very hot takes. Yeah.
You know?
We'll see what he thinks after coming back from Greece.
I know.
Right?
I know.
Hey, give him a shout out. He's on social media again.
Yes, he is. He's back on the gram.
He's back on the gram.
Give Josh Cook a follow.
He's just like everybody else.
Yeah, it's great.
He's an influencer. Josh okay, here's the question for the pod. Is Josh an influencer?
Is he now an influencer?
Anyways.
The people are wondering.
You did not tune in to the Overflow podcast to care about Disney adults or vacations.
No, you didn't.
Man, Adam, we have, I think, low key might be one of my favorite weeks of the series.
Yeah, this one's cool.
I didn't anticipate this one because at first I was trying to figure out how to really talk through chapter 46 and 47 because it's really a story about Jacob leaving leaving Canaan to go to Egypt more than Joseph.
Sure.
And so we're in the story of Joseph and the reality is Jacob is told to leave a place that was great. Yeah. It was actually it was God's promise. It was the promised land.
Yep.
And he's there and he's told to leave it. And so the whole week this week and what I want to talk about on this podcast, because I think this is really true. Adam, you're getting married next year.
I am.
And
excited.
I mean, like weddings bring life changes, right?
They do.
And life changes. So a wedding is a good thing. Getting married is a good thing. But then it creates like a ripple effect of some things that are not. I actually recently found out.
Oh, this is how you do that.
Yeah, right.
Like,
or not. No, not even that. But like, hey, if we're gonna get like sometimes it's a job change, it's a transition. I've got a friend that they just eloped, and they are he got a job here. They're not from here, and so now, I mean, that's a ripple effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they eloped, they got married because they wanted to move quickly, and do all that kind of stuff. And so because of his job, which was not thought about before, like he applied to a bunch of different places, but now because I'm married, now your job is our job and our location. And so we have to do this. And so her life changes too because of all of this. And so when you are sitting here thinking about the story of Jacob, Israel, if you will, he's in a great spot with a lot to look forward to, but then God redirects that and says, go somewhere else where there's a little bit of uncertainty about what it looks like. Right. And so that's the reality. And like, it's an uncomfortable decision to have to go to Egypt, but it's God's calling. Right. I mean, the same is true for your calling out here. Like, I mean, my calling out here, I was in a great spot. Yeah. I mean, awesome. Actually, my calling into ministry was the same way. Sure. The last year I was in medical sales, I was on track to win President's Club. Now, President's Club is awesome. Like that's what you look forward to. That means you're in the top 2 to 3% of sales reps in your organization. And what happens is when you are, they send you on trips. So that trip that year was to Hawaii, all expenses paid trip to Hawaii. And so, but I had to leave before everything was fully officially done. It was like a month before their fiscal year was done. And so even though it was very clear I was going to win President's Club, because I left to go into ministry, I didn't get to partake in anything. And so I'm saying, like, so what I'm saying is everything was going well. When I went into ministry, it wasn't like, oh, I need another job. Things aren't going well. Usually jobs happen and transitions like that from sales to ministry to something different, a totally different marketplace. It's like, hey, this is not working out. I should probably think about something differently. Yeah. But it wasn't. Things were going great. And I went into ministry. I left what was comfortable into God's calling, and that brought uncomfort, but I didn't know what God was going to do through it, right? And so I think that's what we see with Jacob. He's in the land of Canaan. He's in the promised land. He's in the place that God promised Abraham and all of these people and his descendants. And it's like, okay, now leave it? Yeah. You're probably thinking like, well, why would I do that? Why are you calling me away from the place that you called me to? You call my people to, at least. And so that's a little bit about what we see. And so I think it's really just important because I think we can over spiritualize personal preference, and sometimes we don't have to and don't need to. But Jacob's not moving here because Egypt offered better weather, more opportunity, a fresh start. And what he does is he actually stops in worship. I talked a little bit about this in the message, but he's in the land of Beersheba, which is actually a place that Abraham was with when he made a covenant with Abimelech about the land to take care of his son. And so you go through and you see this, and he planted tamarisk trees. Now, I don't know that this is true. We'll never know. Maybe it's a question when we get to heaven. The reality is Jacob now, years later, could be actually sacrificing, because what he does is when he leaves Beersheba, he sacrifices. He worships God before he leaves. Right. So most of us don't worship God before we leave. We complain. Yeah. Right. We're like, oh, I've got to go do this thing and it's going to suck. But he worships. Yeah. He's like, okay, before I leave, I'm going to worship. I'm going into the unknown and I'm going to worship before I get there, because why? That's what we should be doing. And when he does it, he's in Beersheba. He sacrifices there, worships. And the reality is he actually may be using wood from trees that Abraham planted. I mean, if he's in Beersheba and there's trees around and Abraham planted trees in Beersheba based on this, the reality is, how wild would that be?
That's pretty awesome.
It's also the place where God appeared to Isaac and gives him a promise and says, I'll be with you. Yeah. In this same place. And so it's like, dude, it's so cool that like, but the hard part is like in this place where God showed up big time, God is going, leave. Yeah. Have you ever been in a spot where like something was going great, things were going well, and God said leave to go to something that you had no idea what it would look like?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a little bit here.
Okay. Tell me about it.
I love East Tennessee. Grew up there. Always will be home. But left probably something good that I could have stayed at for a while. In the job situations that I was in and post college and all those kind of things. And moved here, not knowing what it would look like. Different jobs to supplement the main calling, a main job that God placed on my life in early stages of just being on a church plant team. And then even over the years, in the last 7 years of being here, going from good things to even great things with higher intensity and leadership, opportunities that could have probably been like, oh, I could have stayed comfortable even a few years ago, doing some things. Yeah. But comfort is not, it does not always mean that it's the right thing to be in. Yeah. And I just think, what if God wants to give us great things in spite of the good things that are already going? It doesn't mean the good things are bad, but like we ultimately have to believe like God wants more for us, especially when it comes to living in our calling and what he's called us to do. Yeah. And it's so counterintuitive here in this story, and it is often in our lives as well. He says, go down to Egypt where I'll make you a great nation. He's like, well, why can't you make me a great nation here? Right. That's what I'd be saying if I were Jacob. But like he trusted him and he knew God had something great in store. And so the very next verse, Jacob left Beersheba and they took him to Joseph. So,
and he sees it, we were talking about this earlier, but in 46 and 47, you see the first part of 46 actually come to full fruition in 47. I mean, he says, I'll make you into a great nation. And at the end of 47, it says that, we talked about that in the message, but then he also says that Joseph will close your eyes. This happens, he's there 17 years. So he's 147 when he dies, which also, good for him.
Yeah, man.
I don't want to see 147.
Brutal.
45 is tough enough. I can't imagine another 100
tack on about 100 years or so.
So here's another question. Have Christians confused success with God's will? Like God's will, I'm only, if it's God's will, then it is going to be successful.
Yeah.
I mean, because the reality is they go into Egypt and his people become slaves.
Yeah.
And it's wild.
Yeah.
So like he didn't see that because that's the story of Exodus that Moses writes.
Right.
But the truth is like most people would be like, oh, were you not following God's will?
Sure.
Like
why didn't it didn't work out?
So you did this, you went into Egypt and look what happened to the Israelites. They became slaves.
Yeah.
Dude. I mean, and again, like Moses is writing this obviously from a different perspective than most would have. But the reality is like he goes there, and to the world's standards, him going there was a failure.
Yeah.
But the truth is a failure for the people and generations and all that kind of stuff. Had they not gone there, one, they probably would have died because of the famine.
Yeah.
Right. So we can't, like the way we value success can't be based on what happens long term. It can't be based on what the world thinks. It has to be based on obedience, right? So he's there, land of Canaan. God says go, he goes. Therefore, it was a success. But I think a lot of times, like we confuse success with God's will. Like if it's successful, then that was God's will.
Sure.
And that's really stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many examples in the Bible of failed quote unquote 100%. Ministries. Isaiah had a really bad ministry, wouldn't have been successful, if you will. And I think even in our own life, like we can be obedient to God and be successful and not look successful to the world. I think of being here at Riverside. There's a man by the name of Jim Shaddix, professor preaching at Southeastern. He was professor preaching at New Orleans, seminaries. There are people preaching the word at churches that are running thousands on weekends because of his influence in their life, the way they communicate. And he was here for he was here from 2005 to 2012, 7 years. And the church grew from 2,000 people to 800. So the world would say it wasn't successful, but I would say that Dr. Shaddix was obedient. And if he was obedient, then whatever God was doing in and through this church during that time was preparing it for what he wants to do through the church even now.
Yeah.
And he passed away last year, but I got to tell him a couple of years ago at a lady named Nancy's funeral. And I said, Dr. Shaddix, I was like, man, and he was like, man, things look like they're going great, blah, blah, blah. And I said, hey, I'm standing on the shoulders of people like you that planted a lot of seeds and did a whole lot of stuff, And so we just can't look at what we've done and claim it as our success. Sure. And so it's funny. I mean, like the dichotomy of that for you, like how does that play out? Success and God's will.
Right. I just think we have to reframe success if we're asking that question, and if you are comfortable and feel like you've got everything figured out and got the job that you wanted, all those things, but God's not in it, it's a failure, which is hard for us to like come to grasp with. But at the same time, if you know that you're living in God's will, then you can rest in that. And success in the life of a Jesus follower is obedience, right?
Right.
If you're obedient to what Jesus is calling you to do, that's success.
That's it.
It's just, we got to reframe what success is, I think,
Yeah, it's hard because we just think if it's growing, if it's profitable, if it's,
it can
whatever,
be a failure in his eyes, even in those instances.
If it's all those things, and God clearly wants me to stay.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not true. Like it could be bad and God could want you
or
to
it
stay.
can be good.
Or it can be good. And then the next thing can be bad and you didn't make a bad decision. It's just, that's in the cards, right?
Yeah.
Or like, yeah. It's just it's a weird world, because the reality is I talk at the end of the message this week. We're just a small blip.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things. And so we are like just such a short chapter in this overall story that God writes. Like this season that we're in is just a chapter. Mm-hmm. And that's what it is. Like we just walked through chapter 46 and he goes to he leaves Canaan, does all this and goes to Egypt. It's just a chapter.
That's just it.
Like now there's a whole lot of stuff that happens after Moses, Exodus, Passover, Red Sea, all these things. But like, dude, that's the story. Yeah. But this is just a small chapter. But by the way, we don't get to that if there's not a great nation that's made in Egypt.
Yeah.
And we don't get a great nation that's made in Egypt if Jacob isn't obedient to go to Egypt, leaving what was successful.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, dude. So we have it really wrong and skewed. And I'll be honest, I think the Americanized version of all this is even worse, where we don't really have we just lose tradition now, right? So it's like the Americanized version is like dream it up, do it your own, where it's like when you go overseas and like, my wife and son just got back from Kenya, and the historical traditional things that they still do over there are so great. And we don't. Like we actually try to move away from it. We try to move away from it. I mean, we just celebrated 250, which is relatively short in the grand scheme of things. But even in that, we're always trying to reinvent ourselves. That's what it means to be like American. We reinvent ourselves.
Yeah.
And so when we try to reinvent ourselves, we forget about the bigger story because we're trying to write the story right now because we're trying to reinvent it. And I think it's a bad thing in culture right now is that, okay, you can do anything you want to do. You can be anything you want to be. You can create any of these things. Yeah. Sure, that's wrong, theologically speaking. You can't do anything God doesn't want you to do. You can't be anything you want to be. Dude, I'm telling you right now, the Nuggets are struggling to sign Peyton Watson. And I'm like, I got your answer. His name's Chris Phillips. He's 45, 5'9". He's got a broke jaw. I mean, a broke jaw. Broke wrist and a broke shot. But come on, I can be anything I want to be. I want to play for the Nuggets.
Yeah.
Can I do it?
They'll say, don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Yeah.
Or the door's not even open. So you can't even get in to let it hit you on the way out.
They're not even going to respond to me. No. Yeah, that goes in the circular file.
It goes in the spam.
Called the receptacle, the trash receptacle. And so the truth is we can't. And so I think this is even more true in Americanized Christianity than it needs to be.
Yeah.
And we don't. I mean, like even when you go overseas to London and other places, you're in super old historical. Josh is in Greece right now. He's visiting churches that are old and still going about, regular services and stuff like that. We just don't do that. Like we're buying Macy's over here, a friend of mine.
And they're reminding you, like they're everywhere, all those buildings and all that.
And it's like we don't have that, and it's tough. And so sometimes also calling doesn't mean leaving. Like we're talking a lot about Jacob leaving, but sometimes calling doesn't mean leaving. Like that doesn't mean like We don't have to leave to enter God's call.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's staying. It's actually some of the harder things, right? Most of the stories we talk about are like, oh, the church planter went and started. They left comfort, convenience. They did these things and went and did this, or left the job and everything else. Sometimes God's calling is staying.
Yeah.
Like, look at Joseph. He stayed. He didn't leave Egypt.
Right.
He stayed that whole time. 22 years before he sees his family, he's staying. After that, he's staying, right? And so sometimes it's not necessarily like quit and do this or start this thing. Sometimes the greatest thing you can do to obey God's call in your life is just to stay where you are. Good. I mean, I'm passionate about this. What would cities look like if Christians stayed? Like if every young adult here didn't just look for the upward movement on the corporate ladder or getting back close to family, but said, I want to stay here because I want to see Denver changed.
Yeah.
What would happen? I mean, like, dude, there's a lot of people that are transient here in the city that are followers of Christ that will only live here 3 to 5 years. Yeah. What if they stayed 20 years? What if they ingrained deep embedded roots here?
Yeah.
I think this city could look differently
100%.
if people would stay. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. I think, it's just as noble to stay in what God's called you to finish the course in than it is to up and start a whole bunch of other things and go, to new adventures and all those things. It's just, again, going back to what is God saying to your life specifically. And then not even staying, but like staying and making a difference, right? Yeah. Not staying like, okay, well, I'm just going to do my thing at church, then go home, do my, like, we don't even mean staying like that. I think like, what does it look like to stay and invest, in your community, in your neighbors and all those? What does it look like to stay and hold the rope for someone who's deploying somewhere else?
Right.
How can I send out my, resources, time, all that to missionaries abroad or even here and hard to reach places and all those things? Like you need both. You need both people deploying out and people holding the rope so that they can go do that. What does it look like to stay? And I think just stay and be intentional as well. I think our city could change a lot if we saw that.
Well, and I think, this goes into my next point a little bit. There's this aspect of like assimilating into something versus like just faithfulness. And we see that with Joseph and his brothers, or with Joseph's brothers. They surely wanted to assimilate into Egyptian culture, but they determined to stay with faithfulness. I think some of the reason we don't stay is because it's just what people do. The world has become transient, so we can become transient, so we'll just do it. Well, just because the world says be transient doesn't mean we need to, or that you can be doesn't mean we need to. I know a lot of people that like they accept a job and move before they even pray about it. And it's like, what would happen if you like actually prayed about that? I'm not saying God would say to stay, but I am saying that if you didn't pray about it, you definitely won't know what he said.
Yeah.
And their thought process is, oh, well, it was good, so it had to be the open door. Not every open door is God's open door. Like the enemy definitely has the opportunity to open doors. And so what happens is we just assimilate into culture what culture does. And so we think more about what culture does than we do about like faithfulness, dedicating ourselves to what God desires and wants us to do. And so I'm reminded like assimilation is tough. Like, we are all susceptible to assimilation. I wrote down some things like sexuality, money, political identity, success, family, technology, truth, forgiveness. I was on the cruise, the Disney cruise. I don't know if you know.
Yes.
I went big. Oh boy. And also, weirdly, I can do a Mickey Mouse voice. It's like really strange. Even though it doesn't help me in the Disney adult conversation, but it is true. The number of kids that were on a cruise that should have been disconnected from their phones and technology and just hanging out and being present with people around was wild.
Yeah.
I mean, they had a million things going on.
So many. Yeah.
Could have done anything you wanted to all day long, every day. I mean, it went till midnight. Like the programming went till midnight every day. Started at like 7 or 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
So there was no excuse, but it was like they're walking around. They're sitting at dinner around like all of this stuff with like characters walking around.
Yeah.
And they're addicted to these devices, right? I think I could say this because it'll be fine. And my brother-in-law and sister-in-law and mother-in-law don't watch this anyways. But even if they did it, this happened the last night. Their kids are probably a little more prone to be on technology than ours. Our kids are on technology. Don't even get that twisted. We're not that good, but they're not as much. We have pretty good parameters and guardrails for them. Their kids are not as much, and they're on it all the time. And so we get there. My kids are outgoing. You've been around my kids.
Oh, yeah.
And they're outgoing. They're going to talk to a stranger. Like, they're going to make friends or do whatever else. And it was really hard for their kids to like do that on the cruise with other kids on the cruise, like strangers. But by the end of the cruise, there was a group of 18 of them that were walking around the cruise ship together, like friends. They were all like, it was like age 12 up to like 17, 18 kids. They were also probably terrorizing a lot of stuff. But I didn't care. I was like, hey, as long as you don't get in trouble on it.
Literally.
Don't get called. And, but at the last night, we do this thing in our family. We do a high, low, ha. What was your high of the day, your low of the day, your funny part of the day? And so we did that at the table the last night of the cruise. And I went around and asked everybody, and their kids said their favorite part of the cruise was making new friends. Huh. And it was just like this deal of like, and I wanted to be like, yeah, because like culture over here wants you to assimilate into staying on these devices all day, every day. And that's the way everything is. But like, be countercultural and open your eyes and look somebody in the face and have a conversation, And even now they have this group chat with like 18 kids on it.
That's
I'm telling
awesome.
you, like, it is insane. Like, I'll get home today and they will probably have texted 300 or 400 times.
Golly.
Like, it's wild. I'm also like, hey man, you're gonna have to turn this off. You're gonna have to silence this at night. But we can either choose to assimilate to what everybody else is doing and what the world wants us to do, or we can do what God wants us to do. People are what God wants us to focus on, not even jobs, right? Yeah. So even going back to the young adults that move for job here and there and everything else, it's like, hey man, relationships matter more than that. When you die, you're not going to think about your resume and your CV. You're going to remember and recall the relationships that you made over the course of time. I've never... Being a pastor, I've been in a lot of deathbeds where people are near the end of life. None of them ever talk about the rewards they had in their job. They rarely talk about any success they had in it. What they talk about is family, friends, and relationships. Yeah. And so what I'm getting at here is that, like, what if we didn't assimilate to what the rest of the world wants us to do? Yeah. With money, career, fame, influence, blah, 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 blah. And what if we just focused on people, the mission of God, and what he's calling us to do? Now, sometimes those things intertwine. Like, he wants us to be influential in a way. There's like, I think there's a balance, and we don't have that, right? So anyways, just thoughts on like assimilation versus faithfulness. And when I say assimilation, I mean assimilation into culture as opposed to just remaining faithful to what God wants.
Yeah. I think, as you were talking there, I think almost all of culture is even trying to superficially do what actually God's wanting to do in our lives. Yeah. Like, social media, was designed to be in community at a certain point in a healthy way to see what others are doing and check in. And then it's turned into
Josh Cook. You can watch him now because you can find out what's going on in Greece. 100%. I told him, I said, brother, don't be on there so I know how your trip's 100%. Going. That's what it was made for.
It was. And now it's turned into the most isolating thing you can do. But like, don't you know that God created us for community? Like, and so I think all of culture is trying to offer us something that actually is better when we find it in the Lord. Your job and your career and climbing the status ladder and all those things. Well, that's actually trying to scratch an itch that the Lord's trying to do in your life of create a life with purpose. But it's not self-centered. It's others focused. Yeah, right. It's kingdom collaboration. It's all these things. So I think the more we remember that, like, hey, all these things that culture is offering me actually don't come close to what it is like that the Lord's offering me. Those are superficial things. That's just the community that comes from a phone doesn't scratch the surface of the community that comes in God's kingdom with his brothers and sisters. And so I think it's just remembering that, like, as I've heard it said, it's one of my favorite lines. I don't remember. I'm sure you've said it or somebody. But it goes something like, there's a God-sized hole in all of our hearts that only he can fill. Yeah. And I think it's the same with culture. Like, it's trying to fill things in our hearts that only God can actually fill with whatever it is, purpose, community, calling, the feelings of being known by him, all those things. Yeah. I think so we just got to be sure as we're choosing to stay or choosing to go, who is it that's calling me to stay? Who is it calling me to go? Is it the Lord? Or is it actually my own self and culture and assimilating all of those kind of things?
And look, I'm gonna turn down a road here because I think this is pertinent in terms of assimilating in. If you're listening and you're known more or recognized more as a Republican, a Democrat, a progressive, a conservative, affluent, non-affluent, American.
Yeah.
What if you're known more by that than you are a follower of Jesus?
Yeah.
You've assimilated.
There's a problem.
You've assimilated. And I you know, if people know you more by your stances on politics, if people know you more by your stances on your sports teams, if people know you more by your stances on progressive versus conservative, all of this other junk, which is important. So don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying politics aren't important. They are important. But if you're known more for your politics than you are as a follower of Christ, check yourself.
Yeah.
And for sure, I mean, like, you got to check yourself. And it's wild how quickly we could be known more for our stances on things than we are known for our stance on the followership of Jesus Christ and being a person that believes in his death, burial, and resurrection.
Yeah.
And it is driving me insane right now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, if there are people that I know that whether it's a post or a conversation, it is not going to be centered around Christ. It is going to be centered around something that at the end of the day will be dead and gone when I'm in heaven worshiping King Jesus.
That's right.
And so, dude, he sits on the throne, and you should be recognized as a citizen of heaven first.
That's right.
Not your political stance or American versus non-American or whatever else, which, by the way, I mean, like, even talking about this, I thought a lot about refugees and migrants this week. I mean, hello, Jacob is leaving Canaan to go be a refugee in Egypt, you know, a God-placed refugee, you know, I mean, like, immigrant, if you will.
And then blesses the king like a baller.
Brother, he's like, you know, the lesser is great. You know, that people would say the lesser is blessing the greater, but I think it's the greater that's actually blessing the lesser because of his spiritual stance. Yeah. But it literally, I mean, like, dude, like, I mean, he's a 130-year-old elderly migrant.
Egypt?
He's a 130-year-old elderly migrant in the midst of a famine who needs everything that Egypt has to offer. Yeah. Like, I mean, like, his family is actually depending on the policies of a foreign government. Bro, I don't need to go off on a tangent here, but like, there's no like, there's no full blown, you know, immigration stance to walk through or talk through here or whatever else. But the story of migrants and immigrants and refugees and people that are in a foreign land that were not born there because of other reasons that were outside of their control has been a story for a very long time. And so, man, if you're listening, like, the Bible we don't get a 21st century like policy from Genesis 46 and 47, but it absolutely, I mean, it, like, I'll say it this way, it refuses to let us discuss migrants as statistics instead of image bearers.
That's good.
We can't. Yeah. They're still image bearers.
Yeah.
We can't just discuss them as statistics the way that we do in culture today, particularly media, particularly, you know, certain forms of media, and not first remember them as image bearers. Yeah. Right. This image bearer went into Egypt under a foreign government at their aid and actually ended up taking God's people out of there on a way so that we can get to David and ultimately Jesus. Yeah. I mean, so it's like, hey, dude, chill. Yeah. Sorry. I'll, and moving on.
On that note.
Any thoughts, Adam? Why don't you tell us?
I think you tied a bow perfectly on that.
Would you really like walk through like immigration policies in the U.S. and how you think we should handle them?
No, I do think this doesn't show the policy like you said, but it shows the heart that we should have and the heart posture for sure. You know?
I just don't understand. Like, you know, and again, like I'm all about justice.
Yeah.
So like,
100%.
don't hear what I'm not saying here. There has to be justice in these things. Yep. But justice has to come with thoughts of image bearers first. Yes. First and foremost. Yes. No matter who it is. The person that has wronged you more than anybody else, the person that has done whatever to you that is inconceivable, is still an image bearer. We talked about last still week. An image bearer. Yeah, 100%. Right. And then the last thing I want to say is, man, we are so addicted to visible results. Like this resounded to me. I'm addicted to visible results. Just like Jacob doesn't see that here. Like, you know, I mean, like even ministry, right? It's attendance, it's followers, it's revenue, it's all of these types of things. But like Jacob actually never sees the results that God promised. Right. Like he was only there in Egypt 17 years. Yeah. Sure, he saw some growth and those types of things. But I guarantee you it wasn't what it was. There's a pastor that, there's a church in Birmingham, And the pastor was there for 40 years. 40. Church runs like 4,500 people a weekend. And it's just like, dude, I wonder what it was like year one.
Yeah.
And even getting to year 40, right? You know, and to go like, dude, it wasn't there. He didn't know. At year one, he had no idea what year 40 was going to look like.
Yeah.
And so like we just can't be addicted to that. We just have to remain faithful, stay the course, you know, stay in the right direction and do all of those things. And so, yeah, your thoughts on like visible results? It's hard, man.
Yeah, it is. You know, we've said it before on the pod, but the number one thing that God wants us to be is faithful to him. It's why at the end we want to long and hear those words, well done, good and faithful servant. Not well done, good and successful, or you saw this come to fruition, all those kind of things. And like, who knows? And even the story of Joseph, like he doesn't even, as we kind of go back to him, I think I'm reminded even here, like, oh wait, this is Joseph being a part of Jacob's story a little bit. Yeah. We kind of reminded that in 46 and 47, like, oh snap, this is actually Israel who we're talking about in Jacob.
Yeah.
And it shows Joseph he's a bridge in this bigger story. He's not Joseph himself, as great as the last few weeks have been of looking at his integrity and his leadership and his mercy for his brothers and sustaining all those things. The buck doesn't actually stop with Joseph at the very end of this thing. He's still actually part of this bigger story of his whole family. Yeah. That ultimately points to who we know where all things lead to in Christ. And so, like, the more that we are sold out to remember, I am a part of a bigger story pointing to him and not me, I think the better it'll be and the easier it'll be for us to give some of those visible results back to him. Because we might not see it come to fruition, but he does. We might not know the whole story that's being written, but he does. And we've got to give that control to him.
There's a couple of books that have been, pretty, I don't want to say like crucial, but like very informative for me and very transformative. J.D. Greer wrote a book, Gaining by Losing. And in that, he talked about like how, your harvest might be from losing people and then you never know what it is. Like, right. He was talking about serving a city and multiplying and starting new churches and losing people and you don't know what that fruit becomes. And so you actually gain by losing, ground, so to speak, or attendance numbers or visible results, if you will, in that way. And he talked about it. He said he was praying one day, and I forget where it was in the book with this, but he said he was praying one day and he was asking, he wanted Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina to be changed. And he said what happened was he had been praying for God to do it through Summit Church. Yeah. And he's sitting there and he's like, man, God just said, what would you still have the same prayers if I did it through another church? I was like, oh, dang. Well, let's not talk about that.
I really wanted to be my church. Yeah.
But the reality is it's not the results that we're trying to have. Yeah. The result is kingdom advancement.
That's right.
Right. And so like our fruit grows on other people's trees. The reality is a faithful follower of Christ doesn't care about, they care about the results. I shouldn't say it that way. Our care should not be about the results. Yeah. It should be about remaining faithful, kingdom advancement, right? Like the effort is ours, the results are the Lord's. Yeah. And so it shouldn't be about all of those things. Now, we have to keep track of them. We have to be smart. So I'm not saying don't do it. If you saw my Google Drive and the spreadsheets that I have, I'm very wise in all of those things and keeping track and marking this and that and everything else. But at the end of the day, I'm praying and going, hey, Lord, this is all yours.
Yeah, that's right.
Even what we've seen over the last 5 years, which I'm coming up on 5 years being here, that's not even mine. Like the effort is mine and putting it in. God's also given me the ability to have the effort, It's like, it's all his anyways.
Exactly.
So it's like, it's this conundrum of like, focusing on results, but not letting that be the end all be all and remaining faithful when I can't even see the results. Yeah. And so it's a hard world. Like it's not easy. Like, and I think that's the truth of what we see here is that Jacob is stepping out in obedience. Yeah. He gets to see a little bit. He doesn't get to see everything, but the reality is it's the obedience. And so he actually gets to feel God's presence with him, which is what God actually says to him in 46:4, and it's like, okay, I'll be with you.
That's right.
That's the result we're looking for.
That's right.
I don't care. Like, the question is, would we be okay with God just being with us without seeing all the results that we want to see? And the answer is we should be okay. My only result I should care about more than anything else is the presence of God with
That's
me.
Right.
And he guarantees that. Yep. So when we remain obedient and faithful to his word.
Yeah,
so.
that's right.
So I'm going to go watch a Disney movie and maybe the
How
Lion
you're already
King,
caught up on all of them, so
something.
you're good. You know,
I mean, for sure.
Sure.
I mean, like, you know, maybe Cinderella again.
Go see the Odyssey and tell Josh how great you think it is. You know,
funny enough, I guess Marvel is now Disney.
It is now. Spider-Man.
I will be seeing.
Yeah, hey, I will be seeing a Disney movie.
You're a Disney adult.
I'm a Marvel adult for sure.
You're definitely a Marvel.
So
adult.
I guess I'm a Disney adult.
Did you hear what happened?
Man, that really came back.
Spider-Man. He's just died.
What are you talking about? Don't do that to me. This guy. You can't do that.
Are you okay?
He's
Googling right. I have no idea what happened. I don't even know the story. I can't even keep track of it.
This is Tobey Maguire again, right? What's going on?
Hold on, somebody different.
What happened?
What's the redheaded girl's name? He kissed her upside down. That's the last thing I know about Spider-Man. All that to be said, stay faithful, stay obedient.
Yeah.
When God calls you to something uncomfortable, just stay faithful and obedient. It's His. He's more than likely going to call you out of something that is really good right now to take you to something that's even better.
That's right.
And the even better may not be results oriented, but it's even better because His presence is with you.
Yeah.
So that's the premise of this week.
That's right.
Till next time. Josh won't be back with us next time.
I know,
either.
still greasing it up.
He'll still be
Turkey,
over,
maybe?
and he'll be in Turkey. Yep. And so hit him up on social media. Big
Come
social
on.
media guy.
Give him a follow.
Hit him up, Josh Cook. Hit him up. Till next time. See you soon.